So what you're looking at right now is the TravelJoy dashboard. So over the next 40 to 45 minutes, we're going to be going over the dashboard, the left side menus, and the workflow of a trip. There are a few things that we're not going to be covering today, and we'll go over that momentarily as well. The things that we're not going to be covering today are going to be advanced features, and I'm going to show you guys how to get a leg up on learning those advanced features momentarily as well. For now, let's go ahead and jump into the dashboard. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so this will be a little easier to read on your side. And what you're going to see on the dashboard is just a few things. We're going to see a list of trip stages up here, some boxes that denote who a trip is waiting on currently, and then we're going to see the actual list of trips. So I'm going to be moving through all these very quickly. If you have a question along the way, click the Ask a Question button at the bottom of Crowdcast. Ask your question there, and I will definitely come back to it. As we're looking at the dashboard right here, this top section contains trip stages, and there's 7 trip stages here. This is the fairly standard workflow that we set forth to recreate in TravelJoy. So the inquiry stage is basically the same thing as a lead stage. Trips go here when they're not booked yet. So if you have a client reach out and inquire about booking a trip, they're in the lead or inquiry stage right here. After you followed up with them, sent them a proposal, they've approved it, and so on, these trips automatically move through these stages. The last one here, client departed, means that their departure date has been reached and there's no further action necessary on that trip. Now, if you're starting out your workday and you want to head back to the proposals that have been approved and start building invoices for those, which we'll go over later, you can click on Proposal Approved right here, and you'll see the 5 trips that are in that status. So you can start working on the trips and kind of organize your day around where trips are within the workflow. Now, if you ever find yourself looking at the dashboard thinking, I should have like 20 trips here, why is there only 5? Come over here and click All for the trip stages and click All for the waiting on stages here, and that will kind of uncover all of your trips. We do get that question a lot, so that's a little pro tip to start your day out. Now, if this does not match your workflow up here, that's okay. You can change the trip stages once you've adjusted to TravelJoy and you kind of know what you want out of it. You can come up here to the little gear beside the word dashboard and you can move these trip stages around. You can rename them, change the description. You can even click the trash can to delete stages or click add stage to add another stage. And then click save when you're done, and you'll be able to set up the workflow to mimic exactly what you do day to day. Now, for the most part, trips move between these stages automatically, but you can move them manually. I'll show you that later when we're working on a trip. The next thing down here is who a trip is waiting on. Put very simply, this part is completely automated and you'll almost never have to touch it. Here's how it works. If you send a client anything, whether it is an email, an invoice, a proposal, that trip is now waiting on the client. If the client does anything in return, like they make a payment, approve the proposal, send a message back, that trip is now waiting on you. So really what this is a sort of list of notifications for trips where the client made the last move. So if you click on waiting on me, you'll see that I have 11 trips over here that are waiting on me to respond because the last movement on those trips was from the client. So again, just another quick and easy way to organize your day. If you need to follow up with clients you haven't heard from in a while, you can click Waiting on Client, scroll down to these ones you haven't heard from in 2 to 3 months and follow up with them. So again, just another great tool to organize your day. Now, one final thought on trip stages and who a trip is waiting on. Despite the fact that everything changes automatically, sometimes you're going to get a phone call. For example, Amanda Lynn's Denver trip here, proposal sent, and the client gives me a call and says, you know what, I looked at it, I think it's great. So go ahead and approve that for me and send me an invoice. You can come over here and click where it says proposal sent, change it to proposal approved. So just in case you ever need to manually change a trip stage, you have the option right there. But for the most part, you'll never have to do that. So that does bring us to the next section down here, which is the trip dashboard. This is where you see all of your active trips. You can sort these by the client, by the departure date, by the last time they were updated. You can click twice to go from least recently updated to most recently updated. And this just means any message has been sent either by you or by the client. So it's a good way to keep track of your most active trips. Now, one more thing I'd like to throw out as we're looking here is Amanda Lynn's San Diego trip has a departure date of February 27th, but we don't know when she returns. Another little pro tip here, another little trick is you can hover over that and see the return date. So that trip is February 27th to March 7th. If you want to archive a trip, so say for example this trip down here where the client already departed, we'll call it the sample group trip down here. The client departed, trip's over, March 31st, client came back, everybody's happy. You can click the archive button and you'll see that you have a few different options here. So either the client canceled or it was outside their budget, or the best case scenario that the trip has been completed. When you click that, you'll see that the trip just completely disappears. That's what you do when you're done with a trip. Whether it was canceled or completed, you archive it. That leads to a question, where do you find your archived trips? Well, right up here at the top right corner, you have an archived button. When you click here, you can see all the trips that you've canceled, marked completed, or whatever else you've done with them to take them out of your active trips. This helps if Amanda Lynn reaches back out a year from now and says, hey, where did I stay in San Juan? You can go to your archive trips for Amanda Lynn, open that up and see that she stayed at the Hilton, the Condado, and book that hotel for her again. So you have that information there at your fingertips whenever you need it. You can go ahead and click active over here to come back to your active trips. And that's everything on the dashboard except for one last button, and that is the show groups button right here. Now, some of the trips that you're seeing over here, such as Amanda, Lynn, and Alan both having the Maldives cruises here, these are both part of a group, but they're not grouped together right now. I just see all of the trips in a big list. If I click the show groups button, it bundles together the trips that are part of groups and collapses them, so you can navigate your dashboard a little bit easier. This is especially helpful if you have very large groups. So that's everything on the dashboard. We're going to come over and talk about the left side menu now, but before we do, I wanted to share just a quick thought with you. There's two things that we're not going to be going over that are part of the left side menu today, and three things kind of overarching that we're not going to be going over today because they're advanced features. So the templates here, just very quickly, templates are building blocks that are completely reusable within TravelJoy. So if you send one particular email a lot or send one particular form a lot, if you need to learn how to modify those forms and build custom ones from scratch, or you need to learn how to build a task list template from scratch, those are all advanced features, and we will be talking about those in TravelJoy 201. The same goes for reports. So under the commissions and sales reports, you can enter your commission information, so when it's expected to be paid, who the supplier is, the booking date, all that good stuff. And that is something that we cover in TravelJoy 201. The third major thing that we cover in TravelJoy 201 is groups in general. So creating group booking pages, reading group statuses, and everything of that nature to do with groups is part of TravelJoy 201. So the next question, of course, is, well, where is TravelJoy 201 and when is TravelJoy 201? So that's what I wanted to show you before we get started here. You have two choices for TravelJoy 201. The first one is that you can join us every other Tuesday, or every other Thursday, my apology, every other Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, 11 o'clock Pacific, at the link that I just posted in chat. That's when we do our live one. We will be doing a live TravelJoy 201 tomorrow. However, if you don't have time for that, don't panic. If you come over here to the tutorials tab in TravelJoy, the second video that loads up on the tutorials page is a recently recorded TravelJoy 201 webinar that you can pull up and watch on your own time. You can watch it in the middle of the night if you want to, send questions along the way. So that recorded version is always there just in case you can't make the live version. All right. So with all that kind of pointed out, I'm going to walk you through everything else on the left side menu, and then here in a few moments we're going to be building our first trip. We already know what the dashboard is. We just spent some time there. The next thing down is tasks. Tasks and calendar are very, very similar because they both show a lot of the same things. If you have tasks coming up, they will be listed here. So when I go to the tasks page, I can see all. which is everything that I haven't marked completed yet. Could be a little overwhelming. So what you can also do is click on overdue or things that are due today. If you have overdue tasks, they will also show up on the Today tab by default. So we'll see that when I look at what's due today, I have a few things that were due over the course of the past week that I haven't marked completed yet. So I'm going to go ahead and mark one of those completed now. And when I click the checkbox, you'll see that it just disappears. So that task, if I ever need to go back and find it, is now listed under completed. So basically what we're looking at here is all the list of things that you have coming up so you can take a look at it when you're starting out your day. This is not where you create a task. You can, but it's not the most convenient place to do so. I'll show you how to create a task here in about 10 minutes from a trip, but this is where you go to see the tasks that you have coming up due. We're going to head to the calendar where you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see all your tasks and all your trips as you see here. Purple is a trip. The blue here is a task, but you're also going to see a few more things on this page. For example, you're going to see Clarence Over's birthday right here on March 18th, and basically this means that on the calendar you can see trips, tasks, birth dates, anniversaries, and passport expiration dates. All those things, as long as they're entered on client profiles, will show up on your calendar. Moving down to the client list. On the client list, you're going to see a few things, and the first thing that I want to show you, and this is important for a lot of people, is how to import your clients. So if you have a client list already saved in a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet and you want to upload that and just let us handle it, you can do that, but it does take a special step. What we're going to do on the Clients tab is we're going to click Add Client, Client Import. This is the important part. You're going to see instant and custom options here. If you want an instant import, this will not work with the CSV that you already have saved on your computer. To use an instant import, what you're going to want to do is download our blank spreadsheet. And on our blank spreadsheet, you'll notice there's headers all the way across the top. First, middle, last name, address, city, state, zip, etc. Paste your client information into our form, save it, and then upload it, and all of your clients will be imported instantly. So that's what the instant import does. Now the custom import, on the other hand, is going to allow you to take the CSV or spreadsheet file that you already have and just give it to us. You don't have to do any work, don't have to modify it at all. Just add it to the custom tab, and in 3 to 5 business days, we will manually add your clients for you. So that's the difference between instant and custom import. If you're using your own spreadsheet, just make sure to click custom first. So now that we've talked about importing clients, I want to take a look at Amanda Lynn's profile here really quick. So Amanda Lynn is our completely made up client that we'll be using very heavily today for examples. You'll see that she has 28 trips in her history with me. We'll see her email address, her phone number, and her date of birth all listed right here. You'll see that she has credit card information on file, which is what the little credit card icon means here. And beyond all that, you'll see that we can edit or delete Amanda Lynn's profile. Now here's one little tidbit of advice. You can't delete a client's profile if they have active trips. You'll get an error message. If they have trips, you cannot delete them because then the trips will be orphaned and the system doesn't really account for that. So it's a kind of a safety mechanism. Now, editing Amanda Lynn's client profile just involves clicking on the pencil icon here and adding in any information you want. So if you want to add an address, website, social media profiles, come down here and you can add her wedding anniversary. So let's say that Amanda Lynn got married a little while ago and I just managed to click too fast. There we go. April 22nd, 2018 is her wedding anniversary. So I just pop that in here and click save, and now that's added to her profile permanently. That's how you edit profiles. One last thing to point out on the client page here is if you ever accidentally have a duplicate client. So for example, I have Armando Lynn here twice. I can come up here to the 3 dots and click merge client profiles. And it'll ask which one to keep and which one is the duplicate. So I want to type in Armando, and I'm going to choose the one with the email address on file as the one to keep, and I'm going to choose the one without it as the duplicate. Click next and review the changes that it pops up for me to make sure everything makes sense, and then click merge clients. So what happens now is there's only one Armando and all his information is saved there. So that can come in handy if you ever have duplicates. All right. So we've already talked about how templates and reports will be part of TravelJoy 201 tomorrow. You can also watch the recording of those on the tutorials page here. There's nothing else over here on the left side that's super important except for bank information. Now I want to preface this to say that not everybody will need to follow the next step. The only way you'll need to do this next step is if you're collecting payments that go directly into your bank account. I know that doesn't apply to all agents and agencies. So if you're collecting funds that are going to go straight into your bank account, you'll want to go to Settings and Bank Info. We will not allow you to send an invoice that collects direct payments until we know where to send that money. So as we're looking here at the bank info page, you'll see that there's a lot of information required. You'll have to choose an account type, whether it's personal or business, a business type, whether it's an S Corp, a sole proprietorship, whatever that may be there. Add your EIN if it's a business account. And then down at the bottom, I just wanted to point out really quickly that it does ask for your social security number and the last 4 digits of your social security number. And we often get questions as to whether this is required. I just wanted to take a moment to let everybody know this is required by federal law. We can't skip it. So if you don't provide your social, unfortunately, we cannot process payments. This has been federal law since 2003, and there's no way around that. So just in case anybody had that question. All right, that's everything on the left side menu. I'm going to come back up to the dashboard here, and what I'm going to do next is create a trip. This is the fun part. Now we actually get to start getting into the part where you're creating a trip and going through the standard workflow. When you create a trip, all you have to do is come up at the top left and click Create Trip. Pretty simple, right? So when we're creating the trip here, we're going to need a couple of things. We're going to need the client's name, the trip's name, and then we're going to have to choose a photo for the trip. So let's just say that we're going to have a trip for Amanda Lynn, of course, and she is going to the Outer Banks. So we'll call this Amanda Lynn's OBX trip. And that waterfall probably doesn't remind you too much of Coastal Carolina area here. So we're going to click Choose Photo, and we're going to search for Outer Banks and see what we get. Perfect. So what we've got right here is a handful of pictures that are curated from a website called Pixabay. These are royalty-free. You're allowed using them without asking for special permission or paying any sort of royalties. So I'm going to choose one of the Corolla Wild Horses here and make this the header image for the trip. Now you want to go with wide pictures, wide format pictures instead of tall, narrow pictures, and I'll show you why momentarily here. We're going to go ahead and click Create Trip. And now the good thing about this photo is it's going to show up at the top of every invoice, proposal, and form that you send to Amanda Lynn. So it's going to help her get excited about the trip, remind her of the destination that she's going to. So what we have right now is the basic trip page. You've probably already seen this for your test trip. There's nothing here yet except these empty tabs. Before I explain what the tabs are for, I want to send something to the client first so that all these tabs will make a lot more sense. What I'm going to send first is a client inquiry form. That's the stage that we're in after all. Anytime you need to send a form to a client, come over here to the blue Create button and click Create, and then Form. On the next page, you're going to have a list of all your forms. Select Client Inquiry, and then click Next, Review Email. So what we've done right now is we've created a client inquiry form specifically to send to Amanda Lynn, and now we're about to send it. This email comes up and explains to Amanda Lynn exactly what this form is and what to do with it. Now you'll notice that when we send a proposal, the email will tell them it's a proposal. When we send an invoice, it will tell them it's an invoice. You don't have to worry about any of that. The invoices or the emails that accompany these different forms tell the client what they're for automatically. So you're good to go. However, if there's anything in here you want to change, like if you happen to know that Amanda prefers to go by Mandy, you can change that. You can come down here and click Send. So just in 30 seconds here, we've sent our first form. I'm going to come over here to Amanda Lynn's inbox. Remember, she's completely fictional, so we're not violating any privacy here. And we're going to open up Amanda Lynn's email and see, I'd love to know more about your needs, and if I could be a good fit, please fill out this inquiry form. So Amanda Lynn's going to open this up. The first thing you're going to see is the branding at the top of the page. This is the first thing that the client's going to see as well. See the photo that we picked out, our agency logo, her information. The next thing that she sees is who she's filling out this form for. By default, she'll be filling out the form for herself. This is another question we very often get from first-time TravelJoy users is, I'm trying to create a form that asks for 4 people's names, 4 people's phone numbers, 4 people's birth dates, 4 people's passports. And as you could imagine, for a client, that's extremely difficult to keep everything straight and make sure you're putting the right client's information in the right boxes when there's, upwards of 80 questions. So what we do instead here at TravelJoy is that you create a form, and the form has questions that are answerable by one person. When the client submits the form, they can click Add Traveler and submit it again. That way there's no question who they're currently filling out the form for. I'll show you right now. So we're going to say that she wants to go to Outer Banks, and she wants to go, let's say, late August. Her departure city is Cleveland, and there are 2 travelers. We can leave the rest of these questions blank and just go ahead and submit the form. And here's what Amanda Lynn's going to see next. This works whether it is an inquiry form, whether it's a travel insurance form, a passport info form. Regardless, she's going to see, oh, I can go ahead and add my second traveler right here. So she can hit that button, and she can add Armando Lynn. We can leave all the other information the same and submit the form. So now the client has submitted information on both herself and her relative that's going to be coming with her. I'm going to close that, delete the email, come back to my inbox here and hit refresh. And now I can tell you what all these nifty tabs are at the top. So looking at Amanda Lynn's trip page, the first thing you're going to see is the Messages tab. That's where you're going to land by default. Think of the Messages tab as text messages flipped upside down. So think of your phone, and with a text message, the newest message is always at the bottom, and then you type your reply right under that. This is the same thing, except the newest message is at the top, and you type your message back right above it. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. And what we're going to see is that today, February 20th, if I hover over this date stamp here, at 2:22 p.m., I sent this message. Now, we know I sent it because the little icon over here to the right is me. That's how you know who sent the message, is the icon over to the right. Now, you'll see what the message said, you'll see which form was attached, and you'll see that she opened it at 2:22 p.m. as well. So you can see when the client opens the form. Now, if we scroll up a little bit, you're going to see more details for Amanda Lynn's OBX trip, and her icon is over here on the left, which means this is a reply from the client. If you hover over the date, again, you'll see that she submitted this at 2:24 p.m. And if we scroll down, we'll see her answers, we'll see Amanda Lynn's client inquiry form. Now let's scroll up a little bit more, because remember, she submitted this twice. Again, more details for Amanda Lynn's OBX trip. She submitted this at 2:24, but if you scroll down, you'll see this is Armando Lynn's client inquiry form. And since it was the last thing submitted, it's at the top of the page. Anytime you send a form, proposal, or inquiry, it will appear here. Anytime the client replies, makes a payment, approves something, it will also appear here. The newest stuff will always be at the top. Now, if you just need to send the client a message with no form attached, just a quick message to say hello, give me a call, whatever, you can click where it says type your message here. And just click send. It's that easy. That will send to Amanda Lynn, and when she writes back, her message will be the most recent thing here. And you will also get an email notification letting you know that Amanda Lynn has replied. There's the message we just sent. We'll go ahead and delete that for now. Okay, so that's the Messages tab. You're also going to see on the Messages tab the list of travelers on this trip. So you have Amanda Lynn and Armando Lynn over here to the right. Next, we're going to move to the Files tab. The client has submitted two different client inquiry forms, Amanda Lynn and Armando Lynn. So those are both listed here. Anytime you send a proposal or invoice, that will be listed here as well. And when the client replies, you'll see their answers listed here into the files as well. So this is where you go to see all the forms, proposals, and invoices you've sent, and to open those up and check out the client's progress on each of those. So that's all that the Files tab is really for. Tasks. This is specific to this trip. Now, I told you earlier that I would show you how to add a task. This is where you do it. So let's just say, for example, that when Amanda Lynn gets back from the Outer Banks, we are going to want to send her a welcome home email asking for a referral or whatever it may be. I'm going to go ahead and add a task right now called Send Welcome Home Email just by typing it in right here and clicking Add. We're not done yet. Notice it doesn't have a due date. Now, when I open this up to add a due date, it's going to give me a little bit of a warning message. So I'm just going to click on this, and I'm going to click Set Relative Due Date so you can see the message. Your trip is missing a start or end date. What this means is that even though Amanda Lynn told us she wanted the trip August 22nd through 29th, we haven't actually added that and accepted that as the trip start and end date just yet. So if we're setting a relative due date, for example, one day after the trip end date, that's not actually going to give this task a due date yet because we don't know what the trip end date is. That's the reason that that warning popped up. So we'll take care of that momentarily. In the meantime, we've set a relative due date for one day after the trip end date, which is fine. It will automatically adjust when we add an end date. If I clicked Save right now, here's what would happen. I would get an email the day after she gets back that says, hey, send her the welcome home email. And from there, I'd have to go log into TravelJoy, pull up her trip, pull up that message, and then click Send. It sounds like a lot of work. So here's how we can make it even easier. We would add an action at the bottom of the task. And the action would be send email, and then it's going to ask which email to send, the welcome home email. So now what's going to happen is one day after the trip end date, I'm going to get an email saying, hey, send Amanda Lynn that welcome home email, click here to do it. And I'm just going to click that button. It's going to pull up her account, pull up her trip, pull up that email, and all I have to do is click send. So I just saved myself like 6 steps. So remember, there's no due date here yet. If we ever need to go back and change the dates for a trip, here's how to do it. 3 dots right beside the create button. You can come in here and click edit trip. And this is where you add additional travelers, add a confirmation number, change the name of the trip, add it to a group. Anything you want to do to the trip, you can do in the edit trip menu. For now, we're just going to buzz forward to August, and we are going to set the trip date August 22nd through 29th. Click Save, and now the page refreshes here, and we have a due date, one day after the trip date. So that's how tasks work. We'll be talking tomorrow about importing task list templates that we've created, so I recommend checking out TravelJoy 201 to make that process even easier. The calendar, just very simply put, the calendar for a trip only shows things related to that trip instead of showing things related to all trips. So I'm going to come forward to August, you'll see the trip, you'll see the task, but you won't see anything related to other trips because this is the calendar for this trip only. And then the last thing is just a private notes tab. You can type your notes in here. So if you're on the phone with the client and they provide some information, or you're on the phone with the supplier and they provide some information, you can type up some private notes here. Click Save, and every note that you type in will be saved, time-stamped, and you can edit or delete any note that you create. So you can keep your notes clean, keep them edited, and you can always find out exactly when you added them as well. So that's all the different tabs going across on the trip here. You see inquiry and waiting on client right now. The reason this is in the waiting on client status is because I sent Amanda Lynn an email that just said hi. That means we're waiting on her to reply. Again, this all changes automatically. What we're going to do next is send the client a proposal. So we're going to click Create Proposal now. Now the reason we're sending a proposal is because now the client has let us know when they want to go, where they want to go. Now we need to let them know, hey, this is what the itinerary looks like. This is what the pricing looks like. Do you like it? So what we're looking at right now is the proposal creation screen. And just really quickly, there's 3 ways to make a proposal in TravelJoy. You can create a proposal on your computer as a PDF or Word document. You can also create a proposal using a third-party itinerary builder, such as Travefy. The third way to do it is to copy and paste information right from the supplier. I'm about to show you all 3 ways. Very, very simple stuff. Itinerary type here is the distinguishing factor. So you're going to choose an itinerary type. If you're making an itinerary on your desktop that's a PDF or a Word document, you're going to choose the file upload type right here. And then you're going to save that file and drag it into this big box. That's it. You're good to go. The next option is web link. So just like before, instead of dragging a file in, this time you're going to drag a link in. So if you use something like Travefy, third-party itinerary builder that gives you a URL to share with your client, a link to share with your client, you can paste that link right in this box here, and you're all set again. And now the advantage of doing it this way, instead of just sending the link straight to your client, is that the client will be able to open this up, and they'll be able to ask a question or approve the proposal at the top right corner after reviewing the itinerary details, and all that information will be tracked in TravelJoy. So it's just kind of almost a little pseudo integration to speed your day up a little bit. Now the third type is new document, and at first glance this looks like a big empty box to type whatever you want into and build your itinerary from scratch, which is possible but could take a while. There's another way you can use this, and that's why I have Google Flights open. So I don't know for sure the closest airport to Outer Banks, so I'm just going to type in Outer Banks and see what we get here. August 22nd through 29th. We're going to change this to 2 passengers. Done. Oh, no results. Let's look at North Carolina here and see what we get. I would say Greenville is going to be the best option. Okay. We've got trips with 1 stop in Charlotte. We're going to copy all of this information here, all the way down to the baggage info. And we're just going to paste it. We're going to paste it right into that big empty box that we had. And now the client's going to be able to see that. The next thing we're going to do is click more proposal details at the bottom. So this section down here at the bottom exists whether you've used the file upload method, the web link method, or the copy and paste method that we just used. This is sort of the final section, and it is optional. Let's go ahead and say that we're looking at $865 for the trip, a deposit amount of $100, due date 1 week from now, and give me a call with any questions. Okay, so now we've got our proposal completely filled out. We're going to save and review email, and again, it tells her that it's a proposal. We're going to go ahead and send it. So now that we've sent this, we're going to pop back over to Amanda Lynn's inbox, open it up, click View Proposal, and here's what Amanda Lynn's going to see on her end. She's going to see all that branding. Notice that now the trip dates are there. She has a note right at the top, give me a call with any questions, and she sees her itinerary. Looking pretty good here, right? So keep in mind that the client's not going to be able to click these buttons to like remove flight and see things like that. We've just copied and pasted the information straight from the supplier. The one thing that she will be able to click is learn more about American's bag fees, because that does come through as a link. Otherwise, this is uneditable, and the client will be able to come over and see the price, deposit, and due date. Now we're going to assume that Amanda Lynn's stoked about this, that her and Armando are happy to be going to the Outer Banks, and instead of clicking Ask a Question, she's just going to click Approve Proposal. That's it. She's approved. So I'm going to come back over here, and you'll see that this was in the proposal sent, waiting on client trip stage, but I'm going to refresh my page now, and we will see that once it refreshes, it is now in the proposal approved, waiting on me stage, and we have this nice blue box letting us know that Amanda Lynn's Outer Banks trip proposal has been approved. I also have an email in my inbox letting me know about this, so I've been notified via email as well. We're in a good spot right now. The last thing we need to do is send the client an invoice to pay for it. Kind of important, right? So before we do that though, I want to send one more form really quick. I want to click Create Form, and from the drop-down list, I'm going to choose Travel Insurance Agreement, or Travel Insurance Default here. Click Next, click Send. So this sends just like any other form does, but the reason I wanted to send this is I wanted to show you one more important step in the process. Now Amanda Lynn's going to open this form, and it's going to ask her, and give the standard disclaimer as well. I understand that declining travel insurance could result in the loss of travel costs, require more money to correct the situation. This is completely editable. She can accept, click here to sign. It's my real signature, don't copy it. And then she can submit the form. Now, here's the thing. She can also click on Add Traveler and submit an answer for Armando Lynn as well. Well, Armando is not there anymore. Let me correct myself there, that she should be able to see that. So I will have to check with the developers and see why Armando's name's not there. In any case, when we come back, what we will see is that Amanda Lynn has given us an answer that she accepts travel insurance, and we can pull up that form to see that she has indeed signed it as well. So we've got that signature on file, which can be very helpful. All right. Now we're up to the point where we're going to be making an invoice. I want to draw a distinction here really quick. So when I click Create, I'll see Invoice Direct and Invoice Supplier. On your end, you may only see Invoice Supplier right now. That's completely normal. If you don't have a bank account on file, you can't send direct invoices yet. That's what that's all about. So the difference between direct and supplier is direct is money that's going to go straight to your bank account. Supplier is basically a credit card authorization, which is by far going to be the most common invoice for many agents out there. So with all of that said, when you send a supplier invoice and a direct invoice, they're almost exactly the same. So we're going to send a supplier invoice first here. There are 3 sections to pay attention to on an invoice. There's the items at the top, there's the settings in the middle in the gray box, and then there's the payment schedule at the bottom. You'll need to fill out the top and bottom section regardless of which invoice type this is. So the first thing we're going to do, of course, is add an item. So we're going to add air, right? Round trip flights. We're going to change the name to round trip flights. We are going to add a cost of $865. It's just approximate with a quantity of 2. Confirmation number, we'll just make one up here. And for flight, we can add all this information over. So we can, add the American flight information, AA 5437 and 5410. From Cleveland to, forget the airport code, so we'll just say NC. Stops in Charlotte, and we will go with 23D, 23E. Okay, so we've added all this information here. There's one more thing we might want to do before we save this, and that's come over to the Commission tab. So we can type in American Airlines, set a booking date of today, say that our expected commission is going to come in December, just for example, and it's going to be $50. Now we can save this. This is completely filled out, and the client's going to see all the details on their end when they receive this invoice. Now we can add another invoice item as well, so I'm just going to add just a standard item here. I've got the El Junque Rainforest tour that I've created as a tour, and I'm going to add that. Now the reason I wanted to add 2 items here is I wanted to show you very quickly. Once you've created your invoice with everything you need, air, hotel, insurance, etc., you can drag these into the order you want them. If you want to delete something, you can click the trash can. If you want to edit something, you can click the pencil icon. So you have that option there. Now that's the top section. You've added your items. We're going to skip the settings here for a moment. We're going to come down to the bottom section, payment schedule. When you add a payment schedule, you're going to click Add Payment, and what's going to automatically happen is that you'll get a payment for the full amount due today. So today is the 20th, and the full amount due is $1730. From here, you can do a little bit of editing, and you can say, hey, you know, the deposit's only about 10%, 175. I want to click outside the box to save that. You saw the blue flash there. That means it's saved. I'm going to change the description here to deposit. And again, click outside the box to save it. And due date. We're going to go ahead and leave that due today. Now, we're going to go ahead and have to add additional payments here because they still have a lot due. Click add payment again. It does the math for you. $15.55 remaining. Still due today though. Let's make this $750. We'll call it first payment. And we'll make it due a month from now. And then we're going to want to go ahead and add one more payment for that $805 and make it due 2 months from now. So now we have this full payment schedule ready. Let's say, this is the question that we had come in earlier today. Let's say that the client already made their deposit. They've already paid that, you're good to go. And before you even send this invoice out, you want to make sure that the invoice reflects that that deposit's already been paid. Here's what you do. From here, go ahead and click Mark as Paid on the deposit, which is going to bring up a box where you enter the paid date and choose whether to send the client a receipt. Now, considering the client may have paid this last week, you don't want to send them a second receipt. That may make them think that they've paid twice. So uncheck that box, click Mark as Paid. The invoice is going to reload here, and that payment is now marked as paid. So now we've got this invoice all done. The last thing for us to do is to go ahead and send it. Before I do that, though, I wanted to answer the question that came up in chat. Add item, you will have a bunch of different things in here. So air, car, cruise, you should see all of those items when you click add item. If you only see add item, new item, that may mean that you need to scroll down a little bit. If your screen's a little bit on the smaller side, you may not be able to see everything there. But all of these should be there with the exception of the ones I've created on my own, which would be El Junque and Boy Band Hall of Fame. You don't see anything about commission over here. You don't see commission until you've actually chosen an item to add. And once you've done that, that's where you'll click on commission. So that's after you've clicked on which item you want to add. If you don't see items under add item over here, I would recommend sending me a support message right after our webinar today, which I'll be teaching you how to do in just a moment. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and click next, save and review email. And I'm going to send this along to Amanda Lynn. Now, before I look at her invoice, I want to show you guys one other thing. I'm going to click on Create Invoice Direct. And what I want to do is just show you how similar the two are. There's still the item section at the top. There's still the payment schedule section at the bottom. And there's still the settings in the middle. Now, on a direct invoice, the settings section in the middle matters a little bit more. Because here you're going to have to make two decisions. First, you're going to have to decide how to accept payments. You can accept credit card payments, you can accept bank transfer payments, or you can accept both, which is what we recommend. Now, if you click on the little question mark here, you'll see a little information. Credit card processing fees will be listed there, as will bank transfer processing fees. Bank transfers are much cheaper to process. You're also going to see how long it takes to receive funds. Credit card processing will get to you in 2 business days, whereas bank transfers take 5 to 7 because we have to wait for the electronic check to clear. Those are the two differences, the cost of the fees as well as how long it takes to get to you. If you only want to allow one or the other, we do have some agents that only want credit cards because they want to make sure they get their funding within 2 days. You can select one of those options. The other setting that you can change on a direct invoice is whether to charge the client a convenience fee, which, as it says here, this will charge your client a convenience fee to offset your processing fee, so you'll receive the full amount that you requested. For example, if you sent the client an invoice, a direct invoice for $250, and left this box checked, the client's going to pay $250 plus processing, and you're going to get $250 in your bank, the whole amount. However, if you send them a direct invoice for $250 and uncheck this box, they're going to pay $250 flat, and you're going to get a deposit of $250 minus your processing fee. So this box just tells you whether or not it's you or the client who will be paying processing fees. That's all there is to that. So now that we've got the difference between direct and supplier invoices all figured out here, I'm going to come over to Amanda Lynn's inbox and open this invoice that we've sent her so you can see what payment looks like on the client's end. She's going to see traveler info at the top, and she's going to see information on the flight. Remember, we put all this information in earlier, and this is why it's helpful. They can now see where they're flying out of, flying into. They can double check dates. They can double check seats, make sure everything's good. You'll see that there's already been a credit of $175. The amount due today is $750 out of a full remaining balance of $1,555. So to make this super simple, we have this box down at the bottom that shows that there's 3 steps to make the payment. They have to tell us how much, tell us which card, and give us a signature to authorize it. Now, much like when you're paying a credit card, you're going to see a few options here. The client can pay what's due now. They can pay their entire remaining balance, or they can choose a custom amount if they want. So if they want to pay like $1,000, they can do that. For now, let's just assume they want to pay what's due today, $750. They're going to choose the card that they already have on file. Actually, you know what? Let's do something a little different here. Let's add a new card. So I've added all this information in here, and I'm going to go ahead and click Save Credit Card here. And the last thing I'm going to have to do is go ahead and click to sign. And again, totally real signature. And finally, scroll to the bottom and click Authorize Payment. Now the client has told us how much they want to pay, told us which card they want to use, given us the signature. And now it's time for us to do a little bit of work. You're going to get a notification that the client has authorized payment. And I'm going to refresh the page here to show you that. Now here's the thing. You'll see that she's authorized $750. And if I open up this payment info right here, it's going to show me 2 different credit cards. And they both end in 4242. The odds are pretty slim, but it could happen, especially with Amex. A client having 2 cards ending in the same 4 numbers. So how do we know which one they use to authorize? This is the last pro tip of the day. Instead of getting that information here, go ahead and go to the Files tab and click on the invoice that you've sent. Then scroll to the bottom. You'll see that this authorized payment here has a credit card by it that says View Authorization Details. Now, when I click, it's going to automatically, right there, open the right card. It opened the card that the client used to make their authorization. So if you ever have a client with more than 1 card on file, go to the invoice payment schedule itself, and it will tell you which card they used for that particular authorization. That can help you out. You're also going to need to be on the invoice anyway, because now that you've taken that payment information and you went to the supplier and you paid the supplier, now you need to mark that payment as paid so you know that it's been taken care of on your end. You'll click Mark as Paid like you did before. This time, though, you'll go ahead and send the client a receipt. Click Mark as Paid. Scroll down and you'll see 2 payments have been paid now. Since you marked this one paid manually, there's no credit card beside it. Since she paid herself with the credit card this time, there is a credit card icon there. Pop back over to Amanda Lynn's inbox. Thanks for your payment. You have paid a total of $750 plus $175 with a remaining balance due of $805. And the client has their receipt. They're satisfied. Everything's good. So we have about 5 or 6 minutes left. What I'm going to do is show you guys how to get support, how to pay for membership, and I'm going to provide a promo code to help you save a little bit off your first couple of months of a monthly plan. So we're about to wrap up here. What I'm going to show you first is how to get support. As I mentioned before, during the weekdays when you reach out for support, you're generally going to be talking to me. We are a small team, only 4 of us. I try to get back to everybody within a couple of hours. If you're in a bind, that might not be the quickest answer. So what I've done and what the whole team has done is we've come together to make a lot of guides for you to make this a lot easier. So I want to click on tutorials here to show you how all of that works. The first thing you're going to see on tutorials is to sign up for TravelJoy 101. You can skip that line. You're already here. Awesome. Step one complete. The next thing you're going to see is to check out guides in the Help Center and ask questions in our forums. I want to open both of these really quick. The Help Center is where almost all of your answers are going to be. So, for example, if you want to turn off sending receipts by default, or you want to learn how to send a receipt to the client, or you want to record a payment made outside of TravelJoy, you can type that in here. And you'll have these guides filled with screenshots and circles and arrows and all kinds of good stuff to help you find what you need. The Help Center is where you're going to find the vast majority of the info that you need. We're adding articles all the time. Just added 2 new ones yesterday. So that's the Help Center. Now, the community forum is something completely different. This is something brand new that we've just started. This is an area for agents to speak with each other, to share best practices, share tips and tricks. So I do recommend heading over to the community forum and taking a look around, asking questions, sharing some things that you've learned along the way. It's brand new, not a lot of activity yet, but you should see a lot more people over there here pretty soon. So that's the Help Center and the forums. The next thing down is all of these amazing videos. Tons of great stuff here. Ones that I really recommend are the 3 videos under Templates Forms. Watch the 3 videos in order and you will become an expert at creating custom forms from scratch and editing the forms that are already built into TravelJoy, which again we'll also be talking about tomorrow. So now you know how to ask a question on the Help Center. You know how to find answers in the videos on the tutorials page. What if you need to reach out to me for personalized help? Well, that's easy. Right down here at the bottom right corner, click that little blue circle and click New Conversation. That will allow you to send out a message to us and we will get back to you as quickly as we can. Keep in mind that if we're out for a holiday like we were this past Monday, it will be listed up here at the top of the screen so you'll know if we're ever out of the office. Otherwise, start a new conversation. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Those are the 3 ways to get support. Help Center is going to have most of it. Video should have most of the rest, but you're definitely going to have to reach out on occasion and talk to one of us. Okay, so the final piece of the puzzle today is to go down to Settings and Membership. This is where you're going to sign up for membership. Settings and Membership. So what you're going to see when I click that is the page is going to come up with 3 different pricing plans: monthly, annual, and 3-year. No matter which plan you choose, you have 30 days to cancel. You can see that in writing right down here, 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to save a ton of money, you can sign up for this 3-year plan. It's basically paying for 25 months and getting 11 months free. Obviously a huge deal. That said, all the way over here on the left is the regular monthly plan where you're going to get billed once a month for $30. If you want to save 50% off of your first 2 months, you're going to type in TJ Rocks 2019, which I just posted in the chat. You're going to want to write that down or copy it to your clipboard, and here's what you do with it. Top right corner, right here, click where it says enter promo code. Type in TJ Rocks 2019 and click save, and what you're going to see is a discount applied, $15 a month for your first 2 months, $30 per month thereafter. That is what you can get with the promo code TJ Rocks 2019. So I had one more question here pop in via the chat, which I'm going to answer momentarily. Any other questions that you guys have, be sure to ask with the chat box down here or check the Help Center for them, as we only do have about a minute or 2 left here. So make sure to send those messages and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Regarding the question that we had in the chat, how does the supplier get paid with the supplier invoice? To pay the supplier, what you're going to do is go to the invoice itself, which again, that's going to be on the Files tab. We'll open that invoice and you can scroll to the very bottom of that invoice and pull up the payment information. So we've got the client's credit card number, their billing address, their security code and expiration date. You're going to go to the supplier site and just paste that information right on in to make the payment. You don't pay the supplier through TravelJoy. This is just this is more for the clients. So this is how you can collect the information and you will pay the supplier through the supplier portal. So Thank you for the question. That just about wraps us up for today. Again, if you guys do have any other any thoughts, feedback, or questions for me, definitely feel free to reach out via chat. Keep in mind that if you scroll up to the top of the chat here in Crowdcast, you will see the link to TravelJoy 201, which will be taking place tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Or you can come to the tutorials page and watch the pre-recorded version. It is the second video down on the tutorials page if you want to get a little bit of a head start or maybe watch this weekend. I want to thank everybody for attending today. Thank you for the great questions, and I hope you all have a phenomenal rest of your week. Thanks a lot.